Wow, wow, wow. The long-awaited hearings about the Titan submersible disaster have finally began today, and they are expected to last for 2 weeks. And guys, there's so much that I want to tell you that they have revealed on day one already. And the Coast Guard has made an animation that shows second by second where the submersible was, where the support ship, the Polar Prince, was, and how the communication was working or not working, who was speaking, and how did it end. It gives me shivers down my spine, guys. It's fascinating what they have revealed on day one already. So the final messages from the doomed Titan sub were revealed during that public hearing in South Carolina today on this implosion that tragically claimed the lives of all 5 crew members in June last year. And this animated recreation of the Titan's journey was also shown during these hearings. And among the final messages of the crew, they showed on the screen the last few words, and I will go through that animation step by step because they're using shortcuts, but I will translate this for you what that means. So stay with me, don't lose your attention span in this video, guys. This is worth watching till the end, I promise you that. And of course it helps my channel as well, so that this video gets promoted by the algorithm and I get a little bit of a reward for the work I'm doing here for you guys. So I appreciate this. Let's, I don't want to say dive right in, but I'm excited because I don't know how to explain this. Excited is probably the wrong word. I've got this feeling in me of, I don't know how you would feel if you were down there in that depth, in that trap, in that submersible. I'm reliving this when I see this animation and when I hear what has happened. And you see the picture behind me. That is an actual image of the Titan sitting on the seafloor. That is the Titan tail cone sitting at the bottom of the ocean. And this is the thing that they were able to recover. We saw that when it was lifted out. I believe these were these parts. It's at a depth of 3,775.6 meters. So nearly 15 months after the UK billionaire Hamish Harding, Oceangate CEO Stockton Rush, the father-son pair Shahzada Dawood and Suleiman Dawood. The mother of Suleiman is German, by the way, coming from Bavaria, from Rosenheim. Then there was French mariner Paul-Henri Nargeolet. All those people lost their lives when the Oceangate Titan submersible imploded on its way down to see the shipwreck of the Titanic that also fell to an ill fate. We all know that. So now the multi-day hearing has begun, and the Coast Guard has presented this animation of what is expected to be the causes of the implosion. And what we have to say so that you understand how these messages are placed. The occupants inside the Titan submersible have experienced faulty communications, and that was not a first. That has happened on previous dives, not to the Titanic, or only in other test dives or in other areas where they used the Titan, but other stuff is being revealed. Honestly, I'm trying to find a red line here because the information that was revealed is just overwhelming because it's so much, and I can't wait to tell you guys. That's why I said stay with me. So they were communicating via text messages. This is like over the last year, so many people have doubted this. They said you can't communicate via text messages, but you can, and we knew that. I've said it repeatedly in my videos if you have seen them. So they were communicating with their support ship that was on sea level, the Polar Prince, and with the crew that was there. And that support ship has also hauled the submersible to the location of the ill-fated Titanic. And so guys, these hearings were 8 hours long. So what I will do for you in my next video, I will go through the whole hearing and I will show you the highlights. And the highlights of today, there's way more, but as I said, let's start with this. So the Coast Guard animation about what happened, it starts with that one page here that gives us an explanation. Of course, location, North Atlantic Ocean, and started at 9 a.m. That's when they start this animation. Newfoundland Daylight Time on June 16th, 2023 until 10:47 Newfoundland Daylight Time, June 18th, 2023. And what they're showing is the communications between the Polar Prince and the Titan. The Titan's answers will be a green track, and they say the Polar Prince, the color will be fuchsia. I don't know if then it'll give us the vessel positions. It'll give us the position of the Polar Prince and of the Titan. In this video, you will see the Polar Prince on top, of course, and then you'll see the Titan. But it'll also start out with the journey when the Polar Prince was pulling the submersible behind, getting it to the location. And that was causing vast criticism already, saying by the rough sea and the waves, the submersible's carbon fiber hull could have been damaged there already. But more about that has come out in that hearing as well. So what they will give us, and I'm doing this explanation a little bit longer because it is important. Once you see the video, and I'll pause it too, you have a lot of information on the side, the depth of the Titan, the time, and then you see the Polar Prince, then you have to watch the communications. So that's why I'm giving you a little bit of an overview. So vessel positions, event times, and depth are being reported, and they are based on AIS positions and Evologic synapse data that were recorded on board of the Polar Prince. They're using, when you see the messages that they're sending between the Titan and the Polar Prince, abbreviations, and the texts are shown as they were recorded. But what they're saying, and that's also interesting, not all abbreviations that were used in these text messages are yet understood by the investigation at the time of this animation. So another mystery, it doesn't stop. So what they're saying here, and maybe I'll overlay that in the video, 1A means I received your last message and thread. AA is an informal Morse code shorthand for end of line. So AA doesn't really mean anything. They say something and then they say AA, end of line. And POI, point of interest. K, communications check. TTN is Titan sending a message. So in front of the message you see TTN, that's the Titan. PPM is Polar Prince sending a message. And Evologics is like an acoustic telemetry modem communications system that they used. And then when in the text it says PH, they think that this was the mariner Frenchman PH Narjolet communicating, and he was one of the most experienced divers in submersibles down to the Titanic. And N-bow is believed to be the bow section of the Titanic wreck, and WTS means drop weights. So with that in mind, we start the video right now. So they're showing us the location. This is where it started from Newfoundland, from the harbor there, and then it was dragging the Polar Prince out to the open water. And of course, this took time, right? So you see how far they needed to go to find the shipwreck of the Titanic, right? It took searchers quite a while to find the Titanic in the 1980s, right? So now you see the Polar Prince has gotten in position and the submersible is down. So you see where the Polar Prince is right now in the upper right corner. We are already on June 18th at 9:17 a.m. and they are now in position and the Titan is starting the descent. So that's what the animation is showing. And now the Polar Prince says, I have HSVR tracking. The Titan says descending through 235. That's probably the depth. Polar Prince has tracking. Titan says, yeah, your message is received. Polar Prince says, end of message. So everything seems to be normal, but the Titan is not very deep. Look at the depth on the bottom right corner. Depth is 337 meters and the pressure is also there. Then Titan says, no ATM, are you on? It seems it's looking for the Polar Prince. So is the communication problem already starting here? Polar Prince, ATM is on. Polar Prince, do not read you on ATM. So problems seem to arise here. Titan says message received, end of message again. So now they're waiting, they're diving deeper at 488 meters. Pressure is increasing at 750 psi. So we're still waiting for more communication between the Polar Prince and the Titan. You can see 560 meters now. Pressure is increasing, 860 psi. Polar Prince says, yeah, we see you at 33 meters per second descending. Polar Prince, meters per minute, correct. Titan says message received. So they're giving them their descent rate, right? So that is important. Is everything still normal? PSI over 1,000 right now, almost 700 meters. Polar Prince says have you at 680 meters at that time, but the depth seems to be deeper already. That's what you see in the bottom right corner. So now they're waiting for the Titan to respond. So it takes quite a bit for the Titan to respond. They say confirmed, having trouble entering PO, will ship I. End of message. Whatever they mean with this, but they're having trouble with something, maybe with steering over with descent. So Polar Prince asks, what is your dive payload? So maybe they're diving too fast. So now they're waiting for the answer. What is your dive payload? We're almost at a depth of 1,000 meters. Polar Prince, report your dive payload weight. So what are the weights that you have on the submersible that will bring you down? Titan response, 1,676. Polar Prince, okay, 1,076. Report your depth. Titan says the weight again, 1,676. Polar Prince says, give me the depth, not the payload, please. So something is off. Titan says 1,050, 1,085. So Polar Prince says, okay, 1,085. Titan says, message received. Polar Prince says, end of message. We have a pressure of 1,700 psi right now, 1,100, almost 1,200 meters at depth. You see the submersible going down. It's still diving. It still seems to be okay. PSI almost 2,000, reaching 2,000. Look at the bottom right corner. So they're still sending some message received messages, but Nothing substantial. Look at the green line in the left top. That's how the submersible is diving. The black bigger thing, that's the polar prints. That's the shadow of the polar prints seen from underwater. And that green thin line shows the Titan diving down, getting deeper at almost 1,400 meters. PSI is over 2,000. We have 9:50 a.m. local time, and you see it continues the dive. It's just, I don't know, guys, how you feel when you watch this, but I don't know, it's like watching the Titanic sink in the movie. You always think, well, maybe they are going to make it, maybe it won't sink. Now you see the Titan submersible, there's no communication, depth is 1,500 meters, pressure almost 2,300. Polar prints says, do you see the polar prints on your display? They're asking the Titan, they're repeating this question, do you see the polar prints on your Evologics display? No reply. So it seems it takes a while for the communication. They're getting deeper at 1,600 meters, 2,400 PSI. It's 9:57 a.m. and the polar prints ask again, do you see the polar prints on your Evologics display? So I think they're starting to get worried now, maybe. But on the other hand, this communication problem was unfortunately common with the Titan submersible. So probably they were not worried because they're thinking, yeah, that's the usual, right? See how often they ask. They keep asking, do you see the polar prints? So problem is always with stuff that happens on a regular basis, you might not be too worried yet, right? I would be worried if I ask so many times, but if that happens on almost every dive, and former passengers have reported that this was the case, so probably the crew of the Polar Prince was maybe a little nervous, but also calming themselves down by, yeah, we know this is normal. They're going very deep right now, almost 2,000 meters. PSI, the pressure is reaching the 3,000 mark, and look at the green line, it's still sinking, and they're asking again, guys. And now I feel the pressure closing in on me. My chest is feeling pressure when I see this. Do you see the polar prints on your Evologics display? They're asking again. The polar prints says K. Finally, a message of the Titan that says K. Polar Prince asks again, now that they have communication. Do you see the polar prints on your Evologics display? Is the polar prints on your display? They're getting quite anxious. They want an answer. They're asking it again. Titan says, okay, that's a relief. Yes. So they're thinking it's all good. But then they said lost system O and chat settings. They probably or and. Titan says this is pH. They're thinking this is Nargile. Polar Prince asks, do you see us on your display? What is your AC key status? Titan says again, this is pH. Polar Prince says high pH. So probably pH has taken over because he knows something is wrong. Could that be a theory? But then Titan says yes. And then they say all good here. Polar Prince says, ac, all good. So, okay, all good. We see the PSI reaching 3,500. The depth is almost 2,400 meters. The Titan says message received. So probably everyone felt okay. They thought everything's on track. Certainly the Polar Prince was probably relieved right now. And it shows me if Nargile says all good, probably he wasn't suspicious of anything, or did he just say that to not alert the paying passengers, to not create a panic on the sub? Maybe he was feeling something's wrong. We don't know, because until now he hasn't communicated. So it's 10:22 a.m. on June 18th. The depth is 2,500 meters. The pressure is reaching 4,000 PSI. And there we have the Titan again. POI orcs. We are at east-southeast of the N bow, probably from the Titanic, how I would interpret that. So still sounds, we're on track, we're on our way to the Titanic. The Polar Prince asks, repeats the message. Are they asking them, is this really what you're saying? The Titan says, AQ. Polar Prince says, signal is strong on our end, so they must have felt good. Did you see the Polar Prince on your display? So that's what they keep asking that. So that seems to be important for this communication. The Titan says, are you now at the bow? Titan says, RSSI 60 feet. Polar Prince says, Polar Prince now at bow, making our way there. It seems the Polar Prince is changing the position. So Polar Prince says to the Titan, your position jumps significantly with each pin. So Titan says, message received. Polar Prince says, end of message. So it seems Polar Prince, is it moving towards the location? So why is the position changing so much? Are there currents? Is the submersible being pushed? And it's difficult to even reach the Titanic. It could that they end up too far away from the Titanic. And it happens in previous dives that they had to search when they were on the ground. So they didn't have much energy left. So they only had 15 minutes. So Polar Prince says again, your position jumps significantly with each ping. So that is alerting to me, guys. Titan says, N question mark. Polar Prince says, remember to write down the location and time when you deploy the Niskin bottle. Titan says, when? Messages are truncated. Polar Prince says, when you deploy Niskin. Polar Prince says, write down the end location. Titan says, no Niskin, never cleaned and string bath. Polar Prince says, Ak, no Niskin. Titan says, message received. So no Niskin. So we're down at 3,200 meters. The PSI is reaching 5,000. So the pressure is getting higher and higher. And you see, the Titan is very far down. So they still had communication to quite a depth, I would say. So Titan says dropped to WTS, dropped to weights, in my opinion. And now you see, look at the Titan. It looks like it's spinning and it looks like it's moving around, it's circling, but you see the Titanic there in that picture with the Titan. So it seems it's on its way to the Titanic, but they can't see the Titanic because it's so dark there, right? They would have to be right there. But it looks they're still on track, if that is correct. So depth at 3,346 meters, 4,900 PSI. And then they're saying at approximately 10:47, communications and tracking from the submersible was lost. The location and depth of the Titan of the mishap was 4173 degrees north latitude and 4994 degrees west latitude at a depth of over 3,300 meters. And then the video names the victim of this dive. What can I say? So they made it further down, in my opinion, than we previously thought. And then something must have gone wrong. Coast Guard says this is when the Titan imploded. The pressure, when it reached around 5,000 PSI, that was too much for that hull. And in these hearings, some more was released about the hull. And I want to tell you this as well. So what stands out in this communication is that it seems it was Narjolet. He said, it's all good here. So yeah, if this implosion happens, it's so fast, you don't feel any pain because it can't even be processed to your brain. So, but experts say they probably were aware up to like 50 seconds to a minute and a half. They must have known something is wrong. So this is the critical point where we can say they didn't feel any pain, but this minute or minute and a half must have been pure terror, fear. Maybe the lights went out. Who knows? They heard the cracking of the hull. This was reported in previous dives when they were way more shallow, that the hull was cracking, these loud noises. So they must have been afraid, and then they were reaching the point of no return, and then it was all fast. But, you know, I think these minute and a half must have probably felt like an eternity, and especially for the father, what went through his mind that he brought his son on the trip, right? I've made quite a few videos about that family, and the son and the mother and the aunt have given statements. So watch these videos. I have a Titan playlist. So what stands out is that at 10:41 a.m., the Titan told the Polar Prince that they would not be deploying the bottle because it was not cleaned. Does that mean they couldn't? I don't know. At 10:47 a.m., the Titan notified the crew of the Polar Prince that it had dropped 2 weights. So they didn't want to descend further, or they wanted to slow down the descent because they were quite far down. And then after that, moments later, the Titan imploded. And then also just before 10:48 a.m., the Polar Prince did not only lose the communication with the Titan, they also lost the tracking from the submersible. It's like when a plane crashes, it disappears from the radar. So this is how the crew of the Polar Prince must have felt. So at a depth of 3,346 meters, that's what the Coast Guard is saying, communication and tracking was lost. What the Coast Guard report also shows, and this is also important in my opinion, that the Titan submersible was left exposed to the elements while it was in storage for 7 months in 2022 and 2023. And what was the most unbelievable part of this is, and the Coast Guard confirms this, that the hull was never reviewed by third parties as it is standard procedure, and they also didn't x-ray it before every dive. So this is basically what has led to this disaster. And of course, if you've seen my previous videos, the whole undersea community has put this unconventional design of the submersible under bad review, so to speak. It has led to scrutiny from the undersea exploration community. And we had witnesses testify already on the first day of the hearing. That was OceanGate's former engineering director, Tony Nissen. And if you've seen my previous videos, we've heard statements from him before. And he said he felt rushed to start operations while he worked for OceanGate. And he was asked if there was pressure to get the Titan into the water. Financial reasons, right? You need paying customers. And Nissen said 100%. So the Marine Board then also asked Nissen if the pressure compromised safety decisions and testing. And it seems Nissen paused for quite a long time, and then he said, no. That's a difficult question to answer, he said, because given infinite time and infinite budget, you could do infinite testing. So basically what is saying, they did not have infinite budget, and infinite time, therefore, and that's why they haven't done infinite testing, right? So make up your own mind. We know that in 2018, Nissan has testified that when the Titan was struck by lightning during a test mission, so as if God already sent the lightning and says, stop this, stop it, that already may have compromised the hull. So did they test the hull after that? So Nissan said that he was fired after that, shortly after that, in 2019. That was the same year when he refused to let the Titan go to the Titanic. So when you have such a crucial exploration and your own engineer that you hire to give you a safety evaluation or a technical evaluation doesn't want you to do the dive, you should listen. But instead, he was fired. So here, probably at play, financial pressure, but also it seems this unending belief of Stockton Rush in this submersible. In several interviews, he says, I've broken the rules and I think I've broken them with good engineering behind, right? Rules are there to be broken, sort of thing. So he was brainwashed when it comes to his submersible. That's how I feel. So he was fired in 2019. He told Rush the Titan was not working like we thought it would. So basically he said, it's a flawed design, it's not working, stop it, right? That's what he basically said. So after that, they have done additional tests and some adjustments before making subsequent dives to the Titanic. That's what Nissan testified. But he told the panel on this day one that he did not trust the operations staff. And he also testified when Rush asked him to pilot the submersible, he said to Rush, I'm not getting in it. And that says all, right? If your own engineer doesn't want to get in this thing, right? So it's like you hire staff for your airplane and then, you know, your staff doesn't want to fly it because they all know this thing will crash. And Nissan is not the only guy who said that Rush could be very difficult to work for, and of course that he was very often concerned with costs and project schedules. So Nissan also said that Rush would fight for what he wanted, like there's a saying, with the head through the wall, right? And but the problem was what Nissan says that often changed daily what he wanted, so that's complicated. So what Nissan says, because of that, most people would eventually just back down to Stockton, just give up, right? Just, okay, okay, if that's what he wants, I'll do it. Because arguing didn't work, obviously, and probably people didn't want to get fired because that's what happened, right, to critics. So this investigation that just began and these hearings, this ongoing Marine Board investigation is the highest level of marine casualty investigation that can be conducted by the Coast Guard. So after this is concluded, there will be recommendations submitted to the Coast Guard's commandant. And then the National Transportation Safety Board is also conducting an investigation. So this is by far close to being over. Jason Neubauer of the Coast Guard's Office on Investigations is leading this hearing. And he has said today, he said, there are no words to ease the loss endured by the families impacted by this tragic incident. But we hope that this hearing will help shed light on the cause of the tragedy and prevent anything like this from happening again. So guys, this was the first part of my update series on this Titan submersible incident. I will summarize every day for you and release additional information. So if you're new here, subscribe so that you won't miss anything. And please give this video a like, share it with your friends. Of course, it's always good to watch it till the end to help me push this out to as many people as possible. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll definitely see you tomorrow with the Titan again, right? Check out the description of this video if you want to join my channel as an exclusive member, or if you want to support the channel through buying me a coffee. The links are in the description, and here are also some videos that might be interesting for you in the end screen. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.